today. So I am Sanford Eigenbrode. I'm an entomologist at U of I, but I've been involved in other stuff, including this project over the past 10 years or so, formerly director of the REACH project. So this is a new Western SARE project designed to test the effects of diversified cover crops and termination date on soil moisture, follow-on crop performance, and ecosystem services. That's our long name. Cover crops, as I think everyone is aware, are one of the widely recognized strategies for improving cropping systems to mitigate soil erosion, to help with soil fertility, improve soil health, reduce reliance on synthetic inputs, and improve cropping systems. And it's being adopted worldwide. There's a lot of adoption in the US, but in the Northwest, especially our cereal systems, there's been less adoption, pretty much due to a number of uncertainties about it, but including how it fits into our crop rotations in our climates here. But in discussions with producers, our group, and especially our co-producer PIs, now recognize that it's water. It's the low precipitation that presents a unique challenge to cover crops establishment here and their use. As it is, we already have parts of the region where we use fallow to conserve water. So how does cover crop fit into that? So this project reflects that concern. And I'll start by introducing our producer cooperators. And I thought we might have a couple of these guys on with us today. We don't, but we have 4 farmers on whose farms we're doing trials regarding cover crops. 4 of them are in the transition cropping zone: Tracy Erickson, Mark Green, Bruce Petty, Doug Schuster. 4 of them are in the annual cropping zone: Aaron Flansburgh, Gary Esser, Frank Wolf, and Clint Zenner. And when I say annual cropping and transition, I'm referring to this fuzzy map of the REACH project, which identified, among other things, these 2 classes of agricultural system that occur because of differing water regimes in our region. The green one is called the annual because crops grow annually and fallow is not used much. And the yellow one is transition, where fallow is often used. And we also have a team of scientists, students, postdocs, and faculty members from the U of I and also the Palouse Conservation District. And I'll just, I can't go through them all except to say we have Cami Ditton and Kendall Call, who are students. Brianna and Kendall are scientists. Kendall's got 2 hats in this one at least. Subodh Adhikari and previously Fernanda Gomez Mojan are postdocs. Luke Sheneman is the director of research computing for the University of Idaho. And our faculty include Pat Hudson-Buehler, J.D. Wolfhorst, Aaron Brooks, me, and Jody Johnson-Maynard, who has departed the university, but she's still in a strong consulting role here. Doug Finkelberg is leading our outreach and extension work, and Ryan Boylan at Palouse Conservation District is working on that aspect of the project too. So everything you'll hear from now on is all due to the work of these people. And I feel, as often, a little bit uncomfortable in the role of sitting here talking about it when so much work is being done by all these folks, our producers, and this team. So we have 3 objectives. One of them is to compare cover crop mixtures and termination dates for effects on cover crop performance, water infiltration, bulk density, nitrogen availability, weed and insect biodiversity, and performance of the subsequent cash crop in our region. And especially with respect to 1, going to objective 2, compare the effects of the treatments in objective 1 on soil moisture profiles. In other words, focusing on this primary issue that has come up as a concern for the region. And then the 3rd objective is a suite of efforts to improve education about cover crops and communication amongst those who are doing cover cropping. So the first objective, just a little background, we have 3 cover crop mixtures that are being tested. in the project on the 8 farms that are collaborating with us or that are part of the project. One of them is a low diversity, 3 species, 1 grass, 1 legume, 1 brassica. The other one is called high diversity, has 9 species, 3 of each. And then on each of the farms, we also invited the producers to include a mix that they're interested in, something that's working for them or that they have questions about. They want to have us evaluate it the way we're evaluating the other crop mixtures. So those differ amongst the farms, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And we have 3 termination dates using herbicide. I'll just vaguely say one's early, one's mid cover crop, and one's late. But the exact times of those we specified in the proposal, but as it's unfolding this year, and we're having to do a little guesswork to find the ideal 3 termination dates to get some differences there. 8 farms, but first let me show you the producer choice mixtures. These are the cover crops the producers are using. Can't read them now, but they're different on most of the farms. I just want to point out by highlighting here that they range from 11 species in this large one in the middle to just 2 species, yellow blossom sweet clover and alfalfa at the bottom. So there's quite a lot of diversity here that we're happy about, because we're going to learn more and our farmers will learn more about their cover crops. And on each farm, about 4 acres is allocated to a design like this, where we'll have 3 reps. Inside those reps are the 3 types of cover crops, and then 3 termination dates to give us this sort of matrix of activities on each farm. That's in year 1. In year 2, we move, do it again on a different site on the same farm, but put in winter wheat after the cover crop so we can evaluate how that crop performs after the cover crop. And then we'll do the same thing the 3rd year, although we won't have any more cover crops. It'll be the end of the project. It flies by. So the measurements we're taking are soil physical properties, so for example, penetration, bulk density, water infiltration, soil and organic matter, weed insect pressure, and biodiversity, gravimetric soil moisture, annual at the beginning and end of season, volumetric soil moisture, continuously monitored with sensors. And then we'll look at crop performance, biomass, and wheat yield following. So a lot of stuff, to be measured. And in objective 3, this is the education component. We have producer interviews. We've already done some extensive interviews with our principal cooperators, and we've also been present at the Palouse Alternative Cropping Symposium. Some of you might have seen our work there, where we learned more from our producers. There will be field days, case studies, serious schools, other regional meetings. And we have a website, which is called pnwcovercrops.org or PaNDAS. And this is just a screenshot of it right now. We'll get back to this again this morning so that those interested can grab this QR code if you want to and get there, because it's really a key aspect of the project that we want to advertise today and get your input on and your participation in. So in the first year, we have got the cover crops in on all farms, but somewhat late because of the season. Here's just some snapshots of these cover crops coming in, different stages of the season, and one picture to illustrate a high diversity cover crop seed mix. And then some snapshots of the measurements underway, soil cores, stand counts and weed counts, and then some pictures of the above ground, pieces of the below ground instrumentation. And that's Cami Ditton there taking a reading, just to show you that what the data are looking like so far, but we don't really have anything to say about our treatments, just to show you that we are getting continuous measures of soil moisture. This is on one farm. These are 3 depths of the sensors in centimeters here. So this is the green one is the one close to the surface, 20 centimeters deep, and you can see it as we go through the season already. You can see that drying down, whereas the deeper probe sensors are are detecting a shallower decline in soil moisture. When we impose our treatments, we expect to see these differ between our treatments so we can understand how soil moisture responds to the different termination dates. Just showing you that stuff is working now, and we're ready to get some termination done. But it's been a challenge because we had some specific dates identified or crop stages for these cover crops for termination, but the first year of the project already sends us kind of the usual signal from farming, I guess, is that it's been a very cool late year. We haven't been able to implement the idea that our first termination date would be June 1st, because in some places by June 1st, the cover crop is barely out of the ground. So we are on the fly coming up with different termination dates that'll be meaningful. So termination date 2 and termination date 1 in the annual zone, termination date 2 in the transition zone, different planting dates, are happening this week. And I think much of it, it's partly done already. Termination date 3 and 2 and 3 for the annual, we're still kind of working on that, but it will be adjusted based on the phenology of the cover crops in terms of flowering and seed set. And we work very closely together as a whole team, producers and us, to try to get meaningful 3 termination dates this year. So that's kind of the whole story in a fast nutshell.